I'm currently rewatching Stranger Things, and I'm now in season 4. Season 4 is an absolute mammoth of a season. I'm already halfway through, and I have so many thoughts as I've already watched like 5 hours of content. First thing I want to point out is that usually Stranger Things, throughout as the seasons have gone on, is usually very good at adding new characters that are like really pushing the story along and actually like feel like they belong in the story. And in this season, we have a very good additional protagonist with Eddie Munson, and then we have a really good additional like antagonistic figure with the Angela character, which I'll get to in a minute. But then we also have the character of Argyle, who I just really don't really like. I don't really like the choice of making Jonathan a pothead and then this guy feeding in him being a pothead. And so far, from I don't really remember anything else, but from what I've watched so far, the only purpose of having Argyle in the show is so that they have access to a car after Eleven gets taken away. And that just didn't feel like a valid enough excuse to include a character like Argyle. I'm just really not a fan of him so far. And he is so far like knocking the show a point for me because I just find him so incredibly unnecessary. And in my previous video, after rewatching season 3, I realized how much I didn't like the Russia stuff, and I knew I was going to like it this season even less because of how they really lean into the Russia. You literally need to go to Russia now to break Hopper out of prison, which again, I'm still not really a big fan of this fact. Like the Russia stuff is genuinely another thing that's like knocking the show a point for me right now. And I'm also realizing that like when Joyce has a storyline that doesn't gravitate around Will, I'm just not as big of a fan of that. I can understand that she's a woman and not every single storyline needs to be directed around her son and her children, but that was one of the things I love so much about Joyce is that she's just such a ride or die mom. And then in season 3 and season 4, she's not with Will at all. And she doesn't even seem really concerned about what's going on with Will either because she's just trying to break out Hopper, which I can understand. She's a very loyal person and wants to get Hopper safe. But that aspect of not really caring about Will or like worrying about Will's safety as much does, again, it just doesn't feel very Joyce to me. But outside some overarching thoughts, let's talk about episode 1. Episode 1 was really the episode where I started to remember so much stuff that I had already forgotten. Like one of the most prolific things about season 4 and why it was so popular is because of TikTok. And because of Eddie's popularity on TikTok and because of like the Chrissy wake up and other really trending things on TikTok really is what launched season 4 into like a whole new stratosphere of like popularity. So like when I first saw Chrissy on screen, and then it made me remember like the Chrissy wake up song, and then I even saw the moment where Eddie was trying to wake up Chrissy that spawned that song. So that was all fun to see again. But one secret from season 1 I really want to talk about that I really love was the back and forth of like the final like moments of the D&D campaign and the basketball game. That was really like edited in a very perfect way in my opinion because it kept going back and forth between moments that were going the way the Hawkins basketball team as there were things going away for like Dustin and their campaign, and then there were things that are going against them back and forth, and then it ends with both Sinclair kids hitting the game-winning shot essentially. I'm also just a huge basketball fan, so seeing like the retro vibes of the basketball court, the jerseys, and even like the warm-ups was all very awesome to see. And then this is the first time we hear the clock, the iconic like clock dinging noise that represents like Vecna coming into this person's mind. And the second I heard that, I got chills and was me like, oh yeah, I completely forgot about this. Let's go. It's game time. And as we get into season 2, this now brings me more to like the Angela stuff. And I think I can throw my vote out there for my least favorite Stranger Things character, and the one I hate the most is definitely Angela. I understand that middle schoolers are assholes, but at the point of where you're just making fun of someone for having a dead dad, it's just truly like unforgivable. And I wish Eleven beat her with that roller skate some more. I remember saying in my head after the cop said to Eleven, you gave her a grade 2 concussion, right? And I'm like, good. I wish she gave her a grade 3. Angela and her goons absolutely suck. I hate her more than anybody in the Upside Down or anybody in Russia. But what I'm noticing again, as I mentioned in my last video, Robin was my favorite character in season 3, and she is still continuing to be the best character in the show. She's also just continuing to be one of the best detectives in the entire show. She's the one who like was able to find like the family video like Rolodex to find Reefer Rick, and she was able to have her monologue to be able to get them in with Victor Creel. She is the real MVP of season 3 and season 4. And it was also really great to see her and Nancy. I think their dynamic together was actually really good, and I liked how they started out with Robin being a little bit like too much for Nancy, and Nancy not really digging her vibe. But now they're starting to really mesh and become good friends, and I really like that duo. And now as we get into season 3, there's not really much I want to talk about for season 3, but I do want to mention I remember hearing the name Yuri and not really remembering what that was about. And then when he was revealed, and I remember seeing, and we're starting to see more about his character, and I think this character sucks. But episode 3 ends with Max really starting to put two and two together about what's going on with her headaches, and that she really feels like she's next. And that whole sequence of her like putting all those pieces together, I thought was just masterful. But then that obviously goes into episode 4. Before I get into my favorite thing probably of all Stranger Things, I completely forgot Robert Englund was in this. And he was awesome as Victor Creel. He was very haunting in the way he was telling his story and like the closed eyes and everything. I thought it was just brilliant. But now obviously episode 4 has the running up that hill moment. Literally, I think is my favorite moment in all of Stranger Things. Like the way that Kate Bush was edited into into that sequence, and then all of like the flashbacks of all of Max's memories that helped her like break out of Vecna and all of that was just so beautiful. It almost just moved me to tears. And I remember Max going into this season being my favorite character mainly because of this sequence. But as of right now, I wouldn't say she's my favorite, even though this scene and sequence carries a whole lot. And then we'll see if she gets like more of a role throughout the rest of the season. But I'm honestly not sure who I would say my favorite character is. I think is up there. I think Robin is still up there. And now I recently started episode 5 a few days ago also, as we're getting into the backstory of 11 and 1. And I'm so excited to dive more into that because I still don't remember a whole lot of it. I'm so excited to experience it once again. Can't wait to watch the rest of season 4 going into season 5. What were some of your favorite moments from all of Stranger Things, and what are you looking forward to from Stranger Things 5?